I'm Dr. Rachel Tate coming to you from Atlanta for ACR 2019, and I am presenting the first ever X Factor with some of my closest friends. So our hashtag for this is going to be ACR Unfiltered, because this is a really great group of women who have some really interesting perspectives on some fun and very important topics. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves and tell us something fun.
So my name is Kanika Manga, and I am actually a second-year fellow at UT Houston. Something fun about me is I like to dance, specifically Bollywood music, in my free time.
I'm Courtney Crane. I'm a pediatric rheumatologist from Alabama, and I am the proud mama to two baby boys, ages 5 and 2.
My name is Sabrina Jayatilaka. I am a rheumatologist at Temple in Philadelphia, and I actually participated in a drumline that opened a conference in Philadelphia. It was on a much smaller scale.
Awesome.
Catherine Dow. I'm from Dallas at UT Southwestern, and many of you know me as Jack Cush's partner, the nicer one. Anyways, things that you may not know about me is that when Jack first started Rheum Now, I mean, like all great things, it started on a paper napkin. And we have one more guest, Rachel. I want to bring into this Women in Rheumatology panel. Come on in. This is our best female advocate, Dr. Ruderman.
Yeah, Dr. Eric Rubin.
Who needs no introduction.
Eric Rubin from Chicago.
Thanks
for inviting me in.
fun.
Tell you something fun?
Yeah.
I have a menagerie at home. My youngest daughter is an animal lover, so we have cats, chickens, rabbits, dogs, you name it. And I'm in charge of all animal cleanup at the house.
Oh, wow, that's a big job. Well, we're a little bit of a menagerie, I think, ourselves. So, you guys, I just want your perspective on what have been your experiences for being a female rheumatologist or mentoring female rheumatologists.
So, for me, just to give you a little bit of my background. So, I graduated medical school 20 years ago. And I've been so lucky to have such good mentors in my life. I mean, and a lot of the mentors, I mean, they didn't even realize they were my mentors. It's people in medicine as well as people outside of medicine. And I would say Jack Cush is probably one of my biggest mentors. And when people ask me, why did I choose rheumatology? I actually say it's not me choosing rheumatology, it's rheumatology who chose me. And it was actually Dr. Wayne Yokoyama who had actually had the idea that I should be a rheumatologist. And at that point, I was thinking about being a GI doctor. So I just want to give you a little perspective there. So, you know, there's a lot of different things that being a woman that you encounter. Some of that is what many of us have actually experienced is the imposter syndrome. And you can talk a little bit more about that. And, you know, she presented like this beautiful research study with regards to women in rheumatology.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Dr.
much
Manga.
for that. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm honored and so excited to be able to talk about our research nationally at conferences. After a really huge study, they actually showed the overall proportion of women to male speakers was actually only 34% women. Wow. And so Dr. Liu and I decided to look at what that percentage was at our ACR annual meeting. So what we actually found is overall, we're doing significantly better, especially than surgical and even other medical specialties, which is great. So our average was about 45% of the overall proportion were women. So that's amazing. And actually from 2017 to 2018, we've actually increased by 4%. And I'm proud to say that in 2019, we're now at 49.1%.
Oh, wow.
So
great.
It would be really naive of me not to mention that I know for this to happen, it took the effort of amazing men and women and the American College of Rheumatology making it an active and conscious part of our mission to promote equal representation. So I'm so fortunate to be in our field and to be surrounded by all of you guys. So thank you.
Well, speaking about kind of the transition with everything, Dr. Crane was talking to us about her experiences with balancing work and life. And I think you have a really great perspective. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Yes, so I had both of my sons during medical training. So the first one during my intern year of residency, where my husband and I were separated geographically. So I was raising a son mostly as a single mom. And then I had my second son during fellowship, and I had a very different experience. So fellowship allowed me the opportunity to have more flexibility because of the research schedule and the less clinic time, and then the no inpatient call. And so I think rheumatology has a great potential for a work-life balance if you have supportive mentors and supportive division who understands that you don't always have to be at the office because the schools are closed. You know, kids get sick, they can't go back to school for 2 days. And so if you have the opportunity to kind of cater your schedule with the advent of the medical record, the electronic medical record is a mom's best friend. Like, and same with like the online journals. Like, you can do a lot of your stuff after the kids get tucked away to bed, and so you don't necessarily have to physically be at the hospital all the time like you did during residency. So,
well, and I think that's a unique perspective. The electronic medical record actually being a tool that we can use for our day-to-day life to survive. What are your thoughts on that?
On the electronic medical record,
Or in life balance?
that is an excellent question. So I also have 2 children, and my first child was born at the end of my fellowship, and it was not something that I really understood how it would impact my professional life. I had maybe 6 weeks at the end of the fellowship, and I had to start my job as an attending 2 weeks later, and so I had a total of 8 weeks off, which didn't seem like a big deal to me before I had a child. And then it ended up that, it was quite a big deal. And thankfully, with some better maternity leave policies at my institution, my second child was a bit easier as I had during my career.
Well, one of the things that I think is so important as a mom is that you didn't introduce the factor of breastfeeding. Oh my God, I used that word. Yes,
What?
and lactation.
What?
yes,
How did you handle this?
No, but it is. I mean, we've struggled. It's a big issue in clinic, right? It's like if you're having a clinic and okay, you're going to carve out some time, even if the baby's not there, you're pumping, right? And what do? And you carve out the time, but then where do you go? A lot of hospitals don't have places to go, and they're like, well, use the bathroom. No, right? So we would actually close some of the clinic exam rooms for some of our docs as they've come through, because you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, so I'm actually in a pediatric hospital that's very breastfeeding friendly, and there's still no good place to go pump. But you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think to be successful as a parent, whether you're female or male, you have to have a schedule. There has to be structure, and so like you have to pre-plan. And I think that's that's the way to be successful as a parent and be a physician. So.
Anything. I found it so isolating, breastfeeding and pumping, that first year. And instead of being able to interact with my colleagues during lunchtime, I had to go back to my office, which was in a different location, and pump. And it was difficult. I think that gave me a new perspective for my fellows when they came through training and had children, and I understood their needs.
Absolutely.
And encouraged them to do the same thing.
Well, and give us a little bit more about the male perspective. I know that you said, Dr. Ruderman, it's a little bit of a challenge to create an environment that supports everybody. What have you guys done at Northwestern, or what have you seen?
The first part is recognition, and recognizing that it's not like, well, we don't treat you any differently, but sometimes you kind of do, because outside of work it's different. And the mom thing it's changing. But it's always like if there's a problem, the kid's home from school sick, it's mom's job, right? Way better than it used to be, because at least hopefully most of the dads now are better partners, but society still expects that, and I think it's hard. So we work around that, and we try to make sure that, listen, if you got a childcare problem or whatever, I mean, you're gone. I remember, and the key for that is not even at work, is to have a partner you can work with on that and make sure that they're all in. But I still remember when I started 25 years ago, my practice, our nanny left and our daughter was home from school sick, and I had to cancel my patients for a whole day. And my senior partner guy looked at me and he said, well, I don't understand why that's your problem. And that's changing, but it's still a challenge.
It's prevalent. We feel guilty.
We do.
We do.
guilt factor because
But
we're
you
supposed to
shouldn't
be
have
there.
right? You shouldn't be forced to do that.
But also it's so whenever you're asked to do something, for example, I was asked as a third-year fellow, like in the second half of my third-year fellowship, to write a case report, and I politely declined it 7 times because it's not career enhancing at that point, and I offered it to a medical student. It was perceived as I can't write the case report because of my kids. And so you get this negative perception. So you're not allowed, it's almost like you're not allowed to say no. You're not allowed to miss a day because it's always because of the kids. And that's not necessarily what the message
So
is.
we have to be the ones to shift the paradigm and to support each other. And I mean, I have amazing mentors. Like, this is one of them, Dr. Catherine Dow. Dr. Rubin is actually another one of them as well. And I've been really fortunate, but I, like most women, also put my fertility in a little bit of a bind based on wanting to have a family later in life. And I think it just goes to show that we have struggles that we aren't expecting. And I think my personal goal is to advocate for each of us. I mean, regardless of if you're male or female, we need to support each other. We have a loss of how many people we have in the workforce, and however you make your work schedule work, you're more productive if you have that scheduling ability. So, any final thoughts, you guys? We could talk about this forever. I mean, we've been off camera for a while. We've been waiting on some other groups to be done, and I think you guys have a wonderful perspective, and sharing it's important.
Can I make a comment on your paper? Because it was fascinating, and I think that it's great news, but it's not enough, right? So even at 49%, we have way more women fellows now than men. So that's not even the percentage of rheumatologists. And then you dig deeper, and how many of those were moderators? How many of those gave important invited lectures? That's the next step. It's not just showing up. We need to make sure that women get to the top of what we're doing.
How do you do that?
Thank you for bringing that up, because one of the big things we looked at was clinical versus basic sciences. Even though the overall proportion was now 49.1%, as of 2017 and 2018, we do have a discrepancy of about 5%, even between clinical versus basic sciences.
Wow.
So that is something we do need to work on. The ACR's work task force actually had predicted by 2020 there would be, our field in adult rheumatology would consist of 57% women versus men. So our goal should not be 50%. It should be more reflective of the active workforce, which is what you were getting at.
How about we go around the table, Rachel, and then every one of us gives a little bit of advice to especially the female trainees.
To me?
Yeah, we love you.
And you also need us to give us the medical students advice, and people who are younger than us and who may not have as good of an experience. What exactly what one piece of information would you distill to help others?
I would say the most important thing that my mentors and sponsors have taught me is, if you want to do something and you believe in it, don't let imposter syndrome take over. Be your own advocate. Be proud of what you want to achieve, what you want to accomplish, and don't be afraid to reach out to people. In fact, I've realized even at meetings like ACR, I've reached out to people that I hadn't really met in real life yet. I'd been inspired by on Twitter or social media, and I've reached out to them and say, hey, can we meet? And they've been more than excited to meet and give me advice. And I think that's actually really helped me in developing my skills.
And I'll kind of piggyback on that. I think you have a lot of choices about life, what career path you choose, whether it's research or clinical, private practice, academics, planning a family, getting married, or traveling. And I think whatever path you choose, just make sure you're confident that that's what you want, that's your passion, that's your desire, that is your choice, and to own it, to own your character, own your choices.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't have said that better myself. I would say my one pearl for everyone is to find mentors who are supportive and who encourage you and challenge you to be better, and you're never going to fall flat on your face. You have a support team. That's what I believe rheumatology is.
Agreed. And as somebody who tries to be a mentor and a program director, I try to not assume that I know what my female or male fellows want, or when they plan to have families, or if they plan to have families during their training, and instead to ask them what their goals are, and not assume that their family life goals are necessarily in conflict with their professional goals. And so I try to support them that way.
So for me is the only person you have to impress, and you have to think about this, is actually your kids, because more is caught than taught. So if you're going to be pushing them aside, they're not going to treat other people that well. And if you don't put family as a priority, they're not going to put family as a priority. They'll be like, bye, Mom. So to me, I think that when I have my family as the center of my life here, and everybody else kind of falls into place, it works out.
It's always tough to be at the end of the line when you have something new. But I want to follow a mentor story, because find mentors who will advocate for you. That's really critical. So not just that will support you and help you, and you need to advocate for yourself, but when a position opens up or an opportunity opens up, you need somebody who's going to go in there and push for you. And it's unfortunate, because sometimes people don't think about as this is the spot for you. You need somebody who's going to help you, so then you can show what you can do when you're there. But if you can't even get in the role, if you can't even get that opportunity, you can't show what you can do.
You guys, you are so sage. This is probably my favorite panel we've done in a really long time. I really thank you so much for all of your perspectives. You are wonderful. Keep fighting the good fight, and find someone to mentor on that final note. So check us out at roomnow.com, and our Twitter handle is @roomnow, and stay tuned for more from Atlanta.